what's up you guys? Marty Schwartz here with Marty Music, breaking down Hey Joe so we can extract the secret sauce for our own creative devices. Lots of amazing stuff in Hendrix, but this one, he uses this idea in a few of his classic riffs. That little progression is going through what's called the circle of fifths. So that's one thing that is great when you're practicing scales, chords, etc. The circle of fifths. So that's one thing that's just going on with the song. Another thing that's going on with the song is, they're major chords. And so we've got a major arpeggio going for each of the chords of the progression, which happens to be a progression in the circle of fifths. So we have an arpeggio, circle of fifths, and also chromaticism, where we're using half steps. 1, 2, 3, where you do half steps in a row. So chromatics or chromaticism is when you play, multiple half steps in a row, at least 3. And a lot of times they're really working as passing tones in between the proper scale tones. So first, let's just talk about what the chords are of Hey Joe. It's C major to G major, D major to A major, and then finally E major. So the first two chords, C to G, if I just stuck my hand out 5 fingers, C, D, E, F, G. G is 5 away from C, thus it's a fifth. So C to G, and then G to D, D is a fifth away from G, etc. They keep going in that same pattern. And so it's called a circle because if you keep going through a fifth after a fifth after a fifth, you end up at the first chord again. And it also has a great feeling of movement. So our circle of fifths, the portion of the circle of fifths is C to G, which is D to A, and then E. We stop there. The circle of fifths could continue. It just, you just keep going in fifths. But for us, we have C, G, D, A, and E. And when we just stop at E, this song feels really good. One, it feels like it's moving a lot. The progression is progressing. But what's really cool about it too is we can play the E blues over it, and it just feels really great, especially when it lands on that E chord and you just go full out E blues, E Hendrix. Okay, but so the riff portion is now the arpeggios of that. So if, let's say, I could look at the C bar chord here with the root on the A string, and the G with the root on the E string, major, the D, same thing up a whole step, to A, and then E again. So I'm just using 2 shapes. Let's do the time warp again. Hey Joe. Okay, so now let's just go off of those roots and I'll show you their major chords. So there's only 3 notes involved. So if you were to play the arpeggio, it's only going to consist of 3 notes. C major arpeggio. So the simplest arpeggio is taking one of your cowboy chords and you just play the notes individually. So C major is C, E, and G. That makes up a C major chord. So I could play those same notes here, C, E, and G. If you find the root on the A string, the major arpeggio is always going to be this shape for any chord. So that's 3 on the A, 2 on the D, 5 on the D. if I just went through that progression just using that, it's not going to sound like the Hey Joe riff. I'm going to do it real quick. So C to G, all along the A string. D is on the 5. A is on the 12. E is on the 7. So that's good practice. It's not the Hey Joe riff, but it's just we're looking at the guitar right now. We're looking at the neck. We're kind of moving it around. Our brain is hopefully learning a few of these little basic concepts. But so watch this. C, E, and G. Well, remember, the lowest string we have is an E. So I could actually go instead of, I'm inverting the arpeggio, but it's still those same 3 notes, C, E, and G. And then G is that final note. So it's right there. So if I wanted to do that now for all of them, G would be like this. That's reversing the arpeggio. So remember, C, E, and G. And now, watch this. The G major arpeggio, the C arpeggio ends on the first note of the next arpeggio, which is the G major. And then that ends on the first note of the D major, which will play like this. So C major, C, E, G. And then the G major arpeggio starts over on that note. And then the A major arpeggio starts on that same note. And then finally just an E note. The term for the 3 notes of a major chord or a minor chord is root, third, and fifth. Just remember I counted, and I'll prove it to you. The root, third, and fifth of a C major chord, I said was, the 3 notes were C, E, and G. Root, third, and fifth. C is the root, 1, 2, 3. C, D, E is the third. So C, E, and then the 5th tone is a G. C, E, G of C, D, E, F, G. The root 3, 5 makes a major chord. So C, E, G. And then for the G major, it's G, B, D. And a D major is D, F sharp, A. And then an A major is A, C sharp, E. And then the E major, E. We're going to do blues. So between that 3 and 5, which looks like this, right? What we're going to do is to create movement, we're just going to do chromatic passing tones up from the 3rd to the 5th of that triad or that arpeggio. So we're playing root, 3rd, 5, but we're going to do chromatics from the 3 up to the 5. And it's just creating motion. And right when we end on that last note, we're using that as the first note of that G arpeggio with the same chromatic 3 up to 5 chromatically. So you end up with this. The root, 3 up the chromatic, which is now the root of G. So in other words, the 5, the 5th of root 3, 5 of C, the 5 of root 3/5 of C major. That 5 of C is the root of G. They share that note, and that's part of that flow of that progression. So you're just doing the major arpeggio, but adding the chromatic. And the last note is now the first note of the G with the same root 3/5, but with the chromatic. But instead of going to the lower note, we're doing the higher. Now we're doing that first arpeggio technique that we did with C. And then the second one. So if you kept going, that would keep going through that circle of fifths. Now, if I just took the most basic approach to what we were doing, on the E, you have C major arpeggio with the chromatic, and then the G, and the D, and then the A. So that's what's going on there. But what we're doing is when we do it on the A root, we're doing the reverse. So like for D, instead of D, F sharp, A, which is the D major, I'm doing D, F sharp, A, instead of D, F sharp, A, D, F sharp, A. It's the same thing, but I'm doing the lower voicing for the 3 and 5. The chromatics are the same for each arpeggio. If I wanted to do it for an F chord, I'd find I could do the F on the A string right there. I could turn it into a dominant 7 chord using that C7 shape. So here's an F9 chord. If I was just grooving that, the concept from this Hey Joe would be those notes. The root, the third, up chromatic to the 5. It's 3, 4, sharp 4, 5. Or 3, 4, flat 5, 5. Root right there. right, circle of fifths, arpeggios, chromatics, chromaticism, all in the context of Jimi Hendrix's version of Hey Joe. Yeah, I know he didn't write it. Okay, so that was a deep dive. Really didn't, the deep dive was just using the Hendrix, but the deep dive I thought was good. I enjoyed breaking that down for you. Let me know other riffs you'd like to see me break down in the comments below. I really appreciate your support, you guys, really do. Thank you so much, and hope to see you again. Hope you subscribe. Check the links below. Take care.